Good afternoon, and welcome to our very first roundtable discussion. This discussion is a part of one of the activities that we're doing for Women's Month. And for this discussion, we will be speaking to a group of lovely women professionals from BTL. My name is Nicolene Raymond. I am the talent manager at BTL. I've been with the company for 7 years. And so what we will do now is to ask the other participants to introduce themselves.
Hi, so I am Farah Nicole Lozano. I am the procurement manager here at BTL. I work in the CFO division and I have been here for 14 years.
Hi, I'm Jessamine Ramos. I'm senior designer in the Fix and Transport Network Engineering department. I have been with the company for 5 years.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Hernandez. I am a sales solution representative, and I am also the general secretary for the Police Communication Workers Union.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Melanie Blake. I'm the general manager for Digi Limited. It's a small subsidiary of the parent company. Been with the company for over 20 plus years.
Good afternoon. My name is Ms. Jess Gideon. I am the office administrator for A&L, a subsidiary of BTL as well. I'm with the company for 3 years now.
Hi, I'm Brittany Young. I am under the Chief Commercial Division, acting as the Senior Solutions Manager. I have been with the company for a little over 5 years now.
Great, so thank you all for introducing yourself. Our discussion today, as I mentioned earlier, is a part of Women's Month, and the theme for Women's Month is Embrace Equity. So have you all seen the images? There are women like hugging themselves and loving themselves. I'm pretty certain that we are all familiar with the term equality, and so this month we're more focusing on equity. So just to give you all a brief little bit of information about the difference, equality really speaks about ensuring that each individual and group has access to exactly the same resource in order to be successful. Equity, on the other hand, recognizes that there are differences, and so we might need different types of resource. Based on that background, we want to go into the discussion. We do have some questions that we want to ask our panelists, and we look forward to hearing their insights. So the first question is, how do you think BTL can further encourage gender equity to achieve optimal work-life balance for all of our employees? In other words, where do you believe that you have seen gender equity and where we can further make improvements? Jess, would you like to take that first question?
I recall when we had just joined, it was about 18 designers and senior managers, and we were the only two females. There were also some administrative assistants, but for going out to the field, doing the design engineering work, it was only two females. At that point, I think it was very clear that equity was obvious. We were treated just the same. We were given all our tools necessary to do our work. So it was they were welcoming. I don't think at that time our gender was an obstacle. We were welcomed, and we were going through the process of learning, adapting to the environment. It's a completely new environment for females, but it was quite interesting to see how we managed to adapt well to the environment.
Do the women have boots?
Yes, we have boots.
Is it the same kind of boots as the men?
No, it's much more comfortable for us. The men would wear a lot more steel toe boots because they're more out in the field. We females would do more field surveys, so we would wear a little bit more comfortable. But yes, we wear boots, we wear hard hats, and we wear our vests.
Okay, great, excellent. So would you say that when it comes to gender equity in terms of the resources, that it is available?
Yes, definitely.
Great. Thank you very much for your contribution, Jess. So ladies, there are so many things that we can talk about in terms of women empowerment and gender equity. Would anyone like to share a moment when or where you have seen women's empowerment here at BTL, something that inspired you? Brittany?
I'm in marketing, which is very female dominated. So I know Kendra spoke on it last week in their podcast about the company having 37% of its workforce being women, and I think that is a long way from where you had seen it in 2018. And for me, a woman empowerment moment that I recognize most recently is that I am fully surrounded by women in my current role, in that we recently hired a chief commercial officer who is female. The general manager of the marketing department is female, and I lead a team of 8 women and 1 male. So it's really nice to see that representation across the company, and seeing that. To jump back to your first question in terms of women equity and how we're seeing the progression, and asking what we need. I think it's important that the company continues to listen and ask, because that's where you bring in the equity. As women, we have a tendency to want it all and feel like we need to do it all, not factoring in enough rest sometimes. But by asking the question about what do you need, what space do we need to give you to be able to have what you define as having it all. Because for some women, it's not necessarily having that flourishing family and a thriving career. It might be having a thriving career and traveling, and that's where the company factors in the flexible work, or being able to just have you meet your full potential based on what you need. And that's where the equity, I think, comes in. So consistently asking, because what I might need today is not what I need 2 years from now. Life is constantly changing, and it's for us to constantly ask those questions of our team, of our colleagues. How can I show up for you? And that's where I think the women's equity comes in. Yeah.
Great, excellent. I can really appreciate your point in terms of asking, Brittany. I think as women, sometimes we find it hard to express ourselves, to just simply ask. We think a lot, so we might have overthink what the answer could be. And so that's a very valid point.
To touch on that point, right? As women, we will do what it takes to get the work done, like what Brittany had mentioned, not asking. But I can also say that as women, sometimes, maybe most of the time, we need to demand our place around the table, right? It's not like it's going to be given to us. So we have to learn to be good negotiators, just like the men do. When they hire somebody, they will negotiate. But I see that women, we just, okay, you get your package, and all right. It's not very often that we would negotiate. I mean, Tafara is the procurement manager, so she probably has this skill on top.
Yes.
But I think when it comes to women empowerment, one of the women that have inspired me at BTL was Sonia. She was a tough cookie. She was one of those fierce individual and women that took up that leadership position in the chief operation office. And I think that's one of the biggest, or maybe right next to the chief commercial office, but she took up that position where I guess 95% is male dominated. So sometimes just in our everyday conversation, having a conversation with a woman, I believe we can relate. Having a conversation with a man, it's like, oh, I know I listen to this lady, she don't know what she's talking about. It's a bit harder for them to just reciprocate. So I do want to say, throughout my years, I believe her. I've also seen Karen Bevans back in the day, where she was also a part of, the senior leadership team. It wasn't easy, especially in an industry like telecommunications. It's very, very, you got to be agile. You got to be witty, you got to be quick. And just like our industry is changing, these women were able to adopt and still lead in their leadership positions. So just wanted to share that.
How can we, I want to say, encourage, how do you think that the gentlemen that are among us, that we work with every single day, how can we become better allies? How can they become better allies to the women for us to continue to achieve better equity in our workplace? So I'm going to ask this question to the member of the executive board for the Belize Communications Workers Union. Jackie?
I would like to make mention that I believe that BTL has fostered that type of relationship between the men and the women. I mean, we have a CEO that has had a lot of history with the company, and I must say that Mr. Ivan has always been a pusher, in terms of making women feel comfortable in the company, even though we might have the stigma, or the stigma might be cultural, whatever it may be, that men are the leaders when it comes to telecom, when it comes to the technical field. But I believe that that has changed. Mel mentioned Sonia Ceballos and Karen Bevans, and I could make a long list of all the women that I've worked with here at BTL that have been a part of the marketing team or the technical team, and I feel that they have always felt that they have to be a little bit more stiff and strong. Even myself, being a part of the union executive, like you mentioned, it has always been dominated by men, and having that voice and not really necessarily feeling that I had to fight for my place at the table, but being excited about being respected at that table, at this very table, where we have those conversations. I believe that's the reason why I love working at BTL as well, because I have felt that here. I am comfortable voicing my opinion. I am respected by my peers, as it relates to males, So yes, we could continue to encourage that type of behavior and to give hope to those people that are not at that place, that feel comfortable expressing themselves.
Okay, great. Jackie, thank you very much. I think the word that I'm hearing from you is enabling.
Yes.
We have had role models before we came to the workplace, males that have enabled us, and that's great. I want to perhaps pose the same question to Ms. Jessie. Ms. Jessie, we know that you are way out west, and also new to the company as part of being at the A&L team. And so, Ms. Jessie, how do you believe that the gentlemen in your company, in your area, can assist with ensuring that all of their needs are met, including yours?
Well, at A&L, I have this dilemma that, okay, it's only 5 females. Around, I can say it's approximately 10 males.
Okay.
So my daily tasks with the males, I can say that I think that they don't like me or a female to tell them, you're right, you're wrong, this is what you should do. I have that every day, day in, day out. I talk to them, and I think that, they feel much comfortable that even if I tell them, okay, this is what you guys gonna do, they won't feel comfortable. They need to get that motion seconded by a male. Guess it's just them that have this, like where Miss Jacqueline says, that macho man in them, that they tend to, okay, I cannot get ruled by females, and I think we females do a good job in what we do.
Oftentimes, because of social norms, okay, as a woman, you can't be doing this, or as a male, it's only you. So these are small, different techniques that I think that the company can continue to expand on to promote gender equity. Right. At DWL, I can definitely say I've had my fair share of challenges, being that I had most of my team coming from the banking sector. They're being male. Me coming from telecom, moving into this fintech, it was really new. But I think what works for us well is that inclusivity. It's not about I knowing more than you do, or you knowing more than I do. It's about us coming together, and that's where the equity come in. Because there are some things I might be good at, and I get it all the time. My team always tell me that I fix up their presentation, I do this, I do that. But they understand where my strength is, and I understand where their strength is. Right. And when we come together, that's where we can foster a culture of inclusivity, and that helps to bring, build the gender equity.
Right. So a part of the conversation for equity is coming together for a purpose, and the purpose is being successful.
Correct.
In everything that we do. So Tifara, you wanted to...
I think that's a great, you mentioned something great just now, and I believe we're making more strides towards that. For example, I look at the IT team, and I remember they were male dominated. And then I remember when Brittany Mangar joined the team. Okay, so I feel like that added a necessary touch. They didn't notice maybe for the Christmas holiday, the department was being decorated. That didn't happen before, but that extra touch comes a lot. Similarly, with along with Jessamine, there is in the engineering field. I remember Miss Heidi Cruz as an engineer, and I was so amazed by her. She is the sweetest woman, the easiest person to work with. And I appreciate having those females in the role. Not discounting the men, but it was always easier to communicate with her and work along with her. There's that understanding between two females and maybe a male and a female. So we're moving towards that area. I'm just looking forward to see more females in this male-dominated area.
Well, so then I will just jump right into our next question. Why do we need more women in leadership at BTL? And I want to contribute to this question. So we do have a Chief Human Resource Officer. It's the first time that position has been at the table, this table. And she's my chief, and I really admire how she is crafting the way for the company, that HR has a new focus. I would trust that the company is feeling the difference in terms of having a dedicated leader and a leader that is a woman. So I believe that indeed we can do with more women in leadership at BTL because we can feel the difference. We can feel the difference, we can experience the difference. And so Melanie, you are also a member of the executive team.
Yes.
You meet among the C-levels, you meet with other GMs. How is that experience in terms of women in leadership in the company?
It's a good experience. Women supporting women. Like, I'm all for that. And just to touch back on the chief HR, yes, we're definitely feeling it. I mean, this is a first for us. In my 20 plus years at the company, I've never had the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with different women across the company. So I can definitely see the changes evolving from the HR team. Definitely excited. But going back to the question with working with different women in the leadership role, I feel like we're very understanding. We understand the goal. We also understand what is work-life balance. You know, so I think I can't remember exactly which study, but market research indicated that, you know, having women in the organization is important because it helps with the work-life balance. And when people have proper work-life balance, they will give more productivity. And I remember the chief HR officer, our current HR officer, she is for that. You know, she encouraged that you take some time, and when you are away from work, you are away from work. So, you know, I love that at the leadership level, we are able to sit down, we're able to encourage, we strategize. If we need to re-strategize, we go back, but we continue to support each other and we keep things balanced. It's no gender is better than the other, but you have to have that balance.
I do want to take that point of having balance and supporting and offering it to Jessie. So Jessie, you have a team, a full team, countrywide.
So next time you could call me.
Yes.
And I will help you climb the ladder and do what we need to do.
Right, thank you very much.
I think to touch on what Mel mentioned in terms of that support, I think having other women in leadership, it gives other women something to aspire to. You know, it's by not seeing women in leadership, you might think, well, I can't do that. I don't know if that's possible. But having that woman in leadership who is finding that balance in her life, you know, it gives the opportunity for younger women, women in a different part of their career, you're able to look up to that person and think, okay, I could do that. And then, of course, the women in leadership, like ourselves, we're able to also support those women through mentorship by, you know, opening up a door for them to step through. And I think that's where that importance comes in.
Right.
Whenever you see one of your own rising above a different, you know, level that we're not accustomed to seeing, it touches you and it gives you a warm feeling when you see that Yasamin or Melanie or Miss Jess or, you know, anyone, when you see you could relate to that person, and there is something that sparks an interest in the fact that the company is actually moving forward to highlighting how important it is to give you that warm feeling.
I strongly support in the women supporting other women. And I think in my past jobs, that is something that has been, that stood out for me always, that I try my best to support other women, be it in my level, above my level, or at my same level, to ensure that we carry this through. You know, it's not always easy. It's challenging. A lot of times it's challenging. But one of the things I wanted to share as well is I'm not sure if it's because of the culture here in BTL, specifically in this compound. But when I first joined, as I mentioned, the meals were very welcoming, and the respect is very high. I could come into a room at any time and lead a group of men to do a task, to do a job, and they very well respect me. They might go outside and talk about what they didn't like, but I haven't had it said directly to me as yet. And I think that's one of the things that boosts my confidence as well.
So we work among men. If we wanted to tell them one or two things, like not burning points, like I always want to tell them this, but one or two things that we can express to them to help them understand that when we're here, it's for a purpose. When we're here, we're bobbing and weaving together. What can we ask of them in terms of ensuring that we are here, we're focused on what we need to do, and how can they better support us?
Going back to my previous statement, it's not about who knows more or who does it best. You know, so having the conversation with the male, and I find that they're very receptive, like what Jessamine said. Once you give them the opportunity where it's not, oh, you're giving them a directive, or oh, you're telling them to do this. It's a, come in, all right, can I get your perspective on this? This is what we need to achieve. You know, let me know how you would get it done. In the technical space here at BTL, I noticed that we have a fantastic technical team, you know, but to understand the business, if we invest 1 million in a software, you know, what is the return on that? You know, how many customers? They don't really get it. They don't really see that end to end. So having the conversation at my team, it's like, that's where we have the inclusivity so we can understand all. We always talk about the customer journey, but we're also a part of that journey here at Digi.
So if you were to consider your journey, your individual journey, I'm going to pose this question in two parts. One, what would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self? And also, we have many young women and men among us. How would your journey assist them in terms of their professional journey? How can we help the younger generation among our teams come across by I guess, expressing the advice that we would give to our younger self?
So to my younger self, Tapara, you should have been focused a little earlier. Similar to Melanie, having a plan. Now I love to plan. I love to budget. I love to know where the final point will come from. So that would be it. And it's never too late. We can start. Yes, it would have been great to start sooner, but we can start now. We can be inspired to do something, to excel now, and it will pay off in the end.
I would tell my younger self to just do it. You know, if there's something that you want to do, and I would also tell younger women that are friends with me or my friends' children. Unfortunately, I'm at that place now where I have my friends have children as well. I would tell them to just be careful with being careful. You know, sometimes it turns into fear, and we have no reason to be afraid. Many women before us have fought for a place at the table, and now it's your turn to enjoy that. So I would say to just be brave, be courageous, and don't be too careful. Enjoy yourself, ensure that you take the necessary steps to be productive and successful, but just go with it.
I think younger me has a tendency to want to do the work, keep your head down. You know, you think the work will speak for itself, but by no means do you have to do that. You know, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to ask for what you want. You know, how you define success and how you're going to get there, you're going to have to ask for it. So I struggle with that currently, but you know, it's something that I try to practice and being more vocal about that.
I would tell my younger version to not be afraid to be the odd one out. I think for many years now I feared to be different, but when I realized that different is actually really good, it's really nice. It feels really good to be different. I now embrace it and I try to always be different now.
I think if I were to answer this question, I would say I would give myself, my younger self, the advice to ask for help. Learn to ask for help, ask for it, expect it. Perhaps because we don't have to do life alone. And so having the voice to ask for help when we need it. We don't always need it, but it's having the opportunity to ask for it in as best and most respectful way, not waiting until we get to the point of breaking, when we start screaming, but just to ask for help. And so I think that's what I would tell my younger self, and for any young woman and male professional coming up, you don't have to do it alone. So on that note, I really want to thank you all for taking the time out to have this discussion. As I mentioned, it's a first for us at BTL, and I think it went very well. So thank you all for putting your whole self forward. So the questions for preparing, and so we will wrap up now and encourage all the other women of the company to continue to have a wonderful Women's Month. We get a whole month, ladies.
Yeah.
Continue to have a wonderful Women's Month and continue to embrace equity, recognizing that we all have different needs and we're pretty much all here to be a success in whatever definition. So thank you all. Do take care, and we will catch up some other time soon, okay?